Hey everyone, you're listening to Super Boothers. I'm Ismail and I'm here with Ryan. Ryan was actually on the strip in Las Vegas during the mass shooting that happened very recently. Ryan, would you mind telling us a little bit about what happened?
As I posted on my on our Facebook page today, I'm not going to be talking about the actual details of what happened. I posted it on my Facebook right after it happened, and then I did go live whenever we were in the car and able to get to safety. I will say this. I debated on whether or not to even do the show today. I was down on the strip when everything happened, and I did not sleep at all. I waited to talk to my grandparents, and then I was able to sleep for about an hour and a half. And then, my phone was just ringing nonstop, from people that saw the video. If there is one thread running through each of the shows that we do, it is the message that we are not alone, that there are people like us going through the exact same issues. My good friend Oprah, whenever she did her very last episode of her 25th season of the Oprah Show, there was one line in there that she had that really got me to be able to do this show today. She said, "Each one of you has your own platform." She said, "Mine is a stage in a studio. Wherever you are, that is your platform, your stage, your circle of influence. That is your talk show, and that is where your power lies." I'm very lucky that we have been able to do Super Boothers, and it has resonated with a lot of people. And I realize that this is my platform, and I really need to be a voice for people that can no longer speak for themselves. Whenever I was on the strip, I was at the Bellagio when I heard the news. I was with two friends. We were just finished. We actually had a great time. We were at the Mirage. I happened to have won some money, and we went over to Caesars to go spend it. And we continued on over to the Bellagio. At the Bellagio, one of our friends that was with us got a text message and said, there is an active shooter at the Mandalay. And from there, we were like, okay, we need to kind of get out of here. And there was one of my friends texted me police dispatch and the feed, and it said multiple shootings, multiple hotels. And we decided, you know what, let's get out of here. We need to make our way back to the car. We went across from Bellagio, over across the bridge, down to Caesars. I remember walking into Caesars. In the lobby, there were about 4 security there. And we walked through the lobby, made a right. If you've ever been to Vegas, you know that there's just kind of like a little main thoroughfare. We passed through some roulette tables. We went towards Omnia, and we were making a left. So there's, in that corner, there's Mesa Grill, there's a poker room, and there is the sports betting venue, which just has about, 30 feet of screens of just different races and sports games available. And I was with 2 friends. One was on the phone, and we turned around, and there was a woman yelling, "He's here, he's here." And 5 girls started running, and then everyone started running. After that, one of my friends fell down. And whenever I tried to go back for her, there was too many people, and I kept getting pushed forward. One of my other friends was at Mesa Grill, and Mesa Grill has glass and columns, and she was able to duck into a corner, and I continued on and was separated from them. There was screaming and just mass hysteria, and it was the most terrifying moment of, I think, my entire life. And all I remember was being very focused and thinking, I got to get me and my friends out of here. And she was able to get up, find my other friend. They were walking, very low and close towards the wall, and I saw them and I yelled her name. She came toward me, and then we were running towards the service exit. We went back behind, in the service hallways where food service was, and the staff there was able to get us out the back of the hotel. I had friends that were in Bellagio. I had friends that were in Aria. I had friends that were at the concert. There was a hockey game earlier that day, and after the hockey game, some people went over to the concert. For those that do not know, the venue that this was held at was in an open space where a lot of outdoor events are held. I was actually there this last November for Las Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon. It is where American Ninja Warrior was filmed. I mean, this is a very common place. It was beyond terrifying. And I remember whenever it happened, it was like, you think this can't be happening. And you think it can't happen to you. And then it does.
Yeah, I mean, you always think that these terrible things you see on television or you hear about or you read about, it seems so distant, right? And I mean, I'm from New York, so I remember going through 9/11. I remember feeling the same thing where it doesn't feel real. Like, how could this possibly be happening? It always seems so far away until it actually does happen. So I think the interesting thing to me that sticks out is how you can go from one moment of normalcy and happiness and joy. I remember I was actually talking to you, like, I think about an hour before it happened, and you were
talking to me. You were talking to me the whole time, and I was so brutal to Ismail. I really was.
You were having gelato. I remember you having gelato right before.
We were in Bellagio. I texted you, and Ismail was texting me nonstop about business stuff. And I told him, stop texting me. I'm winning.
I think you said, go away. That's what you said.
I did say go away.
But the thing that I've taken away, not just from this experience, but other things in the past, it just always it just strikes me as odd how you can just go from bliss and ignorance and joy and normalcy and all of a sudden go in the totally opposite direction just like that.
We were, if you look at, well, it's gone now, but I did save it, my Instagram story. We were going down the strip. We actually drove by Mandalay no sooner than an hour and a half before everything happened. And I had a meeting scheduled the next morning at Mandalay, and it's just beyond unreal.
Why do you think, like you mentioned in the beginning that we discussed and debated about doing the show, skipping the show, talking about it, not talking about it. Why do you think people generally don't discuss these things?
I think because they feel it's too complicated. I really do believe that this has a lot to do with us as a nation. You know, whenever 9/11 happened, we acted immediately. It was, well, now's the time to talk about it. And whenever, I was watching a couple of news things and people were saying, oh, well, now's not the time to talk about it. Well, when is it the time to talk about it? I watched today a gentleman who had his wife die in his arms and was doing an interview on live national television with Anderson Cooper. There is absolutely no way I can ever see any of that happening.
I mean, when I saw that just reminded me of, I think I told you this earlier, when the shooting happened at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, and there was a father doing a press conference like in the front of his house after losing his daughter. I just can't imagine. Like, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. I don't know how these people do it. I imagine they feel some kind of purpose or mission in their message. But generally people seem to avoid these topics, because it seems to drift into a political area, and that's not good for business. But the this show is about super boothers, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to just stand for, who can get the most bookings. I think we have a higher ideal of what a super boother could be and should be. And that would involve being involved in your community, doing the right thing, standing up for what is right, helping people who can't help themselves. And I think from that kind of feeling and that purpose is why we decided to talk about this. And you see that no one else is really jumping out of their way to discuss this. Everyone just kind of moves on extremely quickly. And like you were saying, Ryan, when is the right time to talk about it? And yeah, go ahead.
Whenever this happens, it's just another news cycle. And I don't know if you know about this, there was another shooting at UFC, and there was another school shooting in Las Vegas in Pahrump the same day. And there have been 442 days and 521 mass shootings and zero action from Congress. This is the issue that I had is I was at the airport today, leaving Vegas, coming to Dallas, and I was sitting at a slot machine. There was an African-American individual and a Caucasian individual, and they were talking, and it was just sheer ignorance. And that is the problem that I had. And the key thing that he said that resonated with me was he said that he was a Trump supporter. And he said that, what does he know? He didn't vote. And that is the biggest problem that I have with this is it is our civil duty. It is a right and it is a responsibility as Americans to vote. You cannot tell me about being patriotic, putting your hand over your heart during the national anthem if you do not vote. Many people fight for the right to vote, and we think of it as a privilege. There are parts of the world where women can't vote. They aren't even recognized as people, but property. If you do not vote, please don't tweet thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, it's just a very complicated thing, right? Where we all know people who didn't vote. I'm sure everyone listening to this knows people who talk about stuff all day, but they didn't go vote. And I imagine it has to do with feeling like your vote doesn't count, doesn't matter. And that's like a common theme where everything seems distant, right? Making a difference in the government seems distant. These tragedies seem distant until it happens to you.
That's the thing. It is not your problem until it happens to you. Imagine having to tell your children that they do not have a mother or they do not have a father from some senseless act. I'm from Texas, where gun control means a steady hand, and that has got to change. And I don't want to get political on this, and this goes beyond politics. There was a musician that was playing at the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Caleb Keeter said on his Twitter, "I have been a proponent of the Second Amendment my entire life until the events of last night. I cannot express how wrong I was."
I mean, I always tell people that I'm close with, I couldn't get political even if I wanted to, because I just don't think that way. I don't even know what party I would fall under. I just try to be open-minded and think of things in a logical manner, right? So for me, I think everyone can agree that senseless death is bad, right? It doesn't matter what party you are. It doesn't have to get to that point of discussing parties. But I just don't understand why people need 10 or 15 semi-automatic weapons. I just don't understand. I understand people want to go hunting, defend themselves in their home. I just can't get to the point to understand why you need 20 machine guns.
I'm all for the Second Amendment. Whenever they wrote it, I do not believe that they meant, 20 bullets a second. It is meant for self-defense in your home. I get it. I just don't see the need. And this senseless violence has got to stop. And if we don't talk about it now, when? This is something that needs to be talked about.
I hate to say that as you get older, you definitely get more jaded, just from life experience. And I just hate to sound jaded, but what sticks out to me is that I think back to the Sandy Hook thing, right? And this sounds like a negative view, but when that happened, I remember, like I said, 9/11, and I remember watching that, and I was so heartbroken. Like, what could be worse than Sandy Hook, where the little innocent children just got shot for no reason? And nothing happened. It's been years. Nothing happened. And I remember telling myself that if nothing happens now, what will make something ever happen? And then it just keeps occurring, right? So now you see this latest instance, and you just wonder again, what will it take for something to change?
It has become normal for us to see that there's yet another shooting, and it's just got to stop. If you would like to, there's a lot of people that don't know how to help. If you are in Vegas or in the area, please give blood. They had lines around some of those centers with people just waiting until they opened to give blood. Vegas Convention Center is taking donations. If you are not in the area, please donate to National Compassion Fund. That money goes directly to the victims. Everytown For Gun Safety, Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. In that moment, you think it can't happen to you. And then when it does, it becomes very real, very quick. I have not been one to be political and talk about gun violence all of a sudden. Now that I have experienced it, it changes the game. So, if you are a human in the United States and are horrified about what took place in Vegas, you need to make your voice heard. Call your representatives and demand common sense legislation. It is the only way to truly stop these massacres from happening. Open carry, concealed weapons, machine guns are all legal in Nevada. Many gun owners do not even need a license or permit to carry. It is harder to get an abortion than it is to get a gun. You can reach the House of Representatives switchboard at 202-224-3121. And as we speak, the House is considering legislation to ease rules on gun silencers, which, why would a civilian need to have a gun silencer? My heart goes out to everyone that lost someone and the families that will have someone missing at the table this Thanksgiving. Someone that they will not be able to see graduate from high school, or a dad that won't be able to walk his daughter down the aisle. Things have got to change.